I hope you all are doing well. This is going to be a little different than I normally do it because if you've been watching the last couple of videos, I've been doing hypnosis sessions, although I don't even really like to refer to it as hypnosis as much as it feels more to me like journeying, although it's not the kind of journeying that we would relate to what we call shamanism. I have been connecting to this energy through these sessions, and when I've been trying to make these videos now, it's coming in directly, where I'm not even having to be in this like relaxed, hypnotic trance state. So I will be changing the way I make these videos because I would like to just bring through that energy purely. Although at the same time, because of the amount of distortion and the garbage from the false light ascension structures and matrix and architecture, it's important that I bridge the two energies of the source I am and what it is like in the human experience. And so right now I'm concurrently feeling this energy, and yet I still have my human experience, which needs to be conveyed. So I'm working through a bit how to approach this. So one of the things that, many of the things that have been shown to me through these journeys is how so many people have been misled and entrapped by people who believe they are conveying true source energy, and they are not. They are operating out of an entrapment system, really. We can call it false energy, but what I also saw was that, and I experienced the energy of this in one of my sessions, is that there's a part of you that may realize that something is off, but really you are stuck in this energy. It's like a tractor beam that pulls you in, and it's very difficult to know what is up and what is down. And so I know I experienced this energy very back in the very early days of my spiritual awakening. The sun is starting to come out, where I struggled to connect. It was a channeling class that I was taking, and others around me seemed to fall into it very easily. And by fall into it, I mean they seemed to assimilate these beings or this energy that was coming through, and they would channel it. And I struggled very, very deeply with it. And there was something about it that I just could not get. And I thought it was because I just couldn't do it or something was wrong with me. But I recognize now, again, all of this is, you get to a certain point and you start to backtrack and look at your experience. And this is how you start to understand where you are at because of what you have been through, and how you have learned and grown from these bad experiences. And unfortunately, the only way to truly know the source connection for most of us is to have gone through the unsourced connection, the not true connections. But what I was shown is that it's not these people who are doing it intentionally. They truly believe they are connected to source. And my voice is also changing and modulating, so I apologize. They do truly believe they are connected to source and transmitting from source, but they aren't. It's as if this structure, it's a whole architecture system, a false system that has the playbook. So they have all the words, they have the right lingo. They are even able to express the emotion to a certain degree, but the underlying tone and frequency is not correct. And it's very hard to distinguish this unless your own energy field and your own light body is properly tuned and properly up to speed. so to speak. So yes, we say only take what resonates and listen to what resonates, but at the same time, if you have these energies in your own field, you will resonate to those energies. And this is where we have to be extremely careful. The only way to source is to go within through your own heart. That being said, it's extremely difficult to find the way in because of the levels of programming, the levels of dark energies, the levels of false constructs and entrapments that are put into place. Not only can you be within the false system, there are corridors and passageways that you can get stuck and lost in. And you can receive messages that feel very much like you are channeling and receiving information. And in fact, you are, but the source of it is not true source, true I am energy. So it's not to fault anyone or shame anyone. It simply is. But to know that as these energy waves come in, this is what is going to start happening, is that it's going to highlight the dark, the false, and everything else in between that are in our own energy fields. And as that starts to happen, we may start to feel worse. One of the things I have heard recently, and again, knowing human words, we can't rely completely on the words because they have been altered. When we are in the old fields, which most people are still in the old fields, so I'm speaking to many different things here, but obviously what you need from this you will receive. When we experience this extremely high energy, it begins to feel chaotic. And people start to say, oh my gosh, I'm being attacked by energies. There's so many dark energies. They're out to get us. It's a common light worker belief that because we are so strong and so powerful, we are attacked to that degree of how much light we are capable of holding. And that is true. There are many things that have been put into place to keep us down, to keep us stuck in the old fields, in the old systems. At the same time, do not mistake that as not being in your own energy field, because the only way you can resonate to something is that you do still hold that in your field. At the same time, this is not to shame anyone, because these things are in our templates and in our energy field because we are here to heal them. So in my human experience, I experienced this on my journey, and I've spoken about this before, how I struggled and I would feel a lot of shame because people would just say things like, well, meditate and ground and get your crystals and just allow and just surrender, and it didn't work for me. And that is because we are beings who exist in form and density. The way that you come from being etheric energy into density form is to render in through a system of architecture. This is comprised of grids and templates. And so within these templates, and what we have seen is that much of this is inserted right at the moment of conception. So again, to not feel shame and to not take shame on about the way that our lives look and the way that we feel. But to know that you still have to work through these things energetically because they are in your if you were to compare the body structure to the energy structure, they are in your energy structure. So you hold that in your field. And it is not a matter of simply meditating or having positive thoughts or activating Kundalini energy. That has nothing to do with your Source I Am connection. They can be pathways to higher understanding, but they are not the way. That alone is not going to get you within yourself, to get you where you need to be. So, as these energy waves come in, they are going to stir up everything that needs to be pulled out for you to get through these gate passages. And this is why you're here. It's because you wanted to get through these gates. You wanted to ascend back to reestablish, although your connection was never severed. It is severed when you are in density form, in a way, because you need to clear out all of these energies that are blocking you from remembering and connecting fully. You are always connected, but through the mind, so much is inserted that it begins to feel, appear, and actually be lived as separation. So many other beings have taken this information and twisted it and packaged it and done so much damage we don't even fully understand anymore where we are supposed to be in this process. So that when these energy waves come in, they will stir up these energies within us. The only way that we can feel and experience the darkness or the falseness or any other program is that we hold it within our energy field, and it has to be removed. So, to say that I am getting attacked because I am a powerful light worker is true. It's also true that once you remove those programs, once you remove that energy, once you remove however it is that it is showing up, implants, whatever myriad of ways that it can show up, then you no longer experience that. To say that fear is a program, to say that don't go into fear because the fear is controlling you is incorrect, because the fear is what keeps these programs in place. If you constantly walk away from the fear, you are walking away from addressing the programs that are inside of you. The fear is like a cap on the whole system. So what happens is when you go into fear, you need to move through the fear. You need to continue to push. And it's not easy. This is some of the hardest work that I have ever done as a human. It's not fun, but it is fun in the sense that as this begins to be revealed, and as you start to understand fully, because I really have not understood fully until, well, and then to say fully, more is always revealed, right? So we never stop. But you begin to see exactly how you have been controlled, exactly how others are being controlled, and exactly how that played into your programs. And you begin to understand exactly the steps that you need to take to not move in that direction anymore. But all of that is nearly impossible if you are only trying to move away from that which brings you discomfort. You have to dismantle the programs within yourself. And of course the question is, how does that happen? And I would love to say that it's just a matter of constantly going after these programs, which you can, and that is a lot of the ways that science or it's the energy of these like millionaire mindsets where they tell you how to reprogram yourself. And that is true to a certain degree, although that takes an extreme amount of repetition, an extreme amount of energy, and I would say that is possible to do. But then we have so many places where we are bombarded. We're bombarded to such a high degree that that is something that is difficult to do, especially if you are in a relationship, if you have a family you have to care for, if you cannot totally isolate yourself away from these programs, and if you cannot totally understand what you are dealing with. And the problem is that it's very difficult to understand what you are dealing with until you have actually gotten through to the other side. So this is the trap that has been set up, that we are told we are always connected to source. It's just an illusion. Separation is an illusion. All you have to do is connect into yourself. That is true, but you are also surrounded by a matrix and a system and all kinds of frequencies that will constantly pull you out of that. And so it's very, very difficult to actually get back to that connection within yourself and maintain it. And the only way that I have been able to do this and to understand this from the perspective that I understand it from now in my human experience is to work with the templates and to work with the energy field directly. That everything that we experience in our lives is directly related to what is in our energy fields. Everything that comes up emotionally, physically, it's all held in the energy fields. And so it is the fastest that I have grown ever is to do this field work through the energy field. Essentially what people would call, it's the way to activate the light body. It is not necessarily the light body itself as we understand it. It is concerning the amount of false information that is out there. But even as we say false information, it's true information with the incorrect tone behind it. So it appears to be true. It appears to be of source, but it's not. So what I have personally experienced this last week is a deeper understanding of how it works to be in the new fields. For a long time, I thought that this energy would come in and it would completely alter my reality or the energy, and somehow things were going to just be better, which sounds ridiculous coming out of my mouth at this point, but I think we all know that kind of storyline, right, with the event and the wave, and there are waves of interventions coming in. However, this energy seeks to raise your vibration, and the way that that happens is that you have to release all of this garbage out. and the garbage is the old programs. And so if you are holding very tightly to these programs, if you have built your identity on these programs and your existence on life being a specific way, that is going to be a painful experience. Part of my expectation was that I would have to completely disconnect from the 3D reality that is my life. I did not know how I could move through this existence, knowing what I know, holding the energy that I hold, and raising 2 children in this matrix. And so a part of me thought that I would have to completely disconnect. I would have to completely disconnect them, because the mind starts to have to bridge 2 different realities, 2 different energy spectrums. 2 different energy tones. But what happens when you move to the new fields is that the old systems start to serve you. That because of your energy and because of your connection to Source, you are able to create what it is that you need. And it doesn't happen yet by snapping your fingers, although in certain terms it can. When I was struggling with my daughter and her school experience, I did not know what was going to happen, what the outcome was going to be. And I was very angry at the systems, and I wanted to completely disconnect from that. And yet, she kept saying she wanted to stay in the public school system. She kept saying that she wanted to be there. And so I was following her guidance, knowing that the children are here to anchor in these new energies. And what began to happen was that this is also something that I had intended for as well, though, that we needed more nurturance, we needed more support, we needed more guidance in our physical reality. It's all well and good to have it out there in the fields, but if it doesn't come into physical form, it's not helping. So I had intended for that, and what began to happen and what my daughter was bringing in was nothing short of miraculous, because the school started responding in a way that I did not previously experience before. We were brought certain people, we met with certain people that sent us in other directions that have been extremely helpful. It has completely shifted our reality, our 3D physical reality, and our 3D physical experience in just a matter of a week. That a whole new spectrum of possibilities have opened up. And for a long time, I had been searching. I knew our lives were a mess. I knew what we had been through. I knew to a certain degree what needed to be done or what should be done according to the old system. I was searching for people to help, and even when we connected to these people, it did not seem to be resolving. And so this is what many of us have experienced as light beings, as these powerful beings, is that no matter what we tried, it just wasn't working. Once we step into the new fields and the new energies, all these things that we have put our effort behind begin to manifest with much less effort. It's still work because you still have to put in the action, but it's more the phone call that you make yields results, right? The person that you meet with yields results. It's not that you're putting in all this effort and getting no result anymore. So that has been a huge change in my physical life. Although it's extremely exhausting because there has been a backlog of things that needed to be addressed and taken care of in my physical life. And again, even though I was pedaling, I was spinning my wheels and I was getting nowhere. And suddenly it's all coming through, which is exhausting because there's so many things that need to be taken care of. And I know that had this been even a month ago, I would not have been able to handle it. I would have been totally falling apart. Because I've been dealing with these kinds of things all my life. But I always had people around me. I always had family supporting me. I always had people in my life. I was connected to other groups. I'm no longer connected to those things. It was important and it was required to disconnect from those things in order to work on myself, in order to not be bombarded by the programming and the systems, in order to recognize who I was, in order to work on my energy field, and to bring all these things into my physical reality energetically. And now that I have established that platform, it's much easier and it's a much smoother operation. I can run my life much more smoothly. And I say run because you still have to make choices. You still have to take action. You still have to live life. It's the energy that comes in to support you through those actions and through those choices. Where that pressure that we experienced before, or it was not the outcome that was desired, right? And people will chalk that up to divine timing. Oh, it's not timing. Well, part of that is true. Yes, there's a certain degree of energy that we couldn't access until now, but then also part of that is just because we're not clearing our energy fields. And we have garbage in us, and that's what we get is garbage. And it's not, again, to shame ourselves because of it, but it's because we know the way life is supposed to be energetically. We know the way we should be able to operate through our energies. And we're trying to do that in a system that doesn't support that, and in fact tries to dismantle us and tries to take down everything that we are here to build. And so we're working against an incredible amount of forces. And yet the new fields are open and available. The problem is people aren't recognizing the difference between the new fields and the new energies and all the other garbage that has been established here. So my point in really making this video, and again, I try my best to only speak from personal experience because I understand now that I could say, because this is what I've been seeing as well, that I can do all these things, that I have all these gifts, and yet that doesn't matter because I could be completely, number one, lying about it. Number two, unaware that perhaps what I think is energy of source is not energy of source. The only true proof that I have and that I can give to anyone else is that my life is in fact changing for the better in an extremely fast and an extremely intense and an extremely wonderful way. It doesn't quite feel wonderful yet because I'm physically tired. It's a lot of emotion and a lot of things that the three of us are purging all at the same time. It's very, very rapid and very, very massive. So I can't sit here and say, my life is perfect. I channel source. I That's not true. That's not reality. We are here on mission. We are here to work. We brought things here that are being blocked, and that is not a pretty experience. At the same time, we are at a delineation point where you can continue to pedal your bike and get nowhere, or you can... I think what happened for me was, okay, I've been sitting in this same swamp for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years perhaps. Nothing has changed. I've been working my ass off. Yes, I see energetically that I'm seeing things differently. I'm maybe experiencing things differently. But am I really? And nothing is happening in my life to show me that life is actually getting better. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I didn't understand what I was doing through all my session work. I just know that if I did not have a session scheduled, that I did not feel good. That there was something in me that was anxious, that felt like I was going to be left behind, that felt like I was missing something. And even though I was working with people who are highly technically, energetically technical, and really really understand the energy and the systems, there was still a part of me that was not able to bridge that was not able to even fully understand what they were saying. That it made sense on a certain level. I could not understand it in my human mind. And again, it wasn't until now where I've received so many activations and so many upgrades over the last week. It's not even until now that I can look and say, oh, that's exactly what they were talking about back then. Like, how did my human mind not even put... Your body is just not able to put these things together. The human mind cannot comprehend. And so when I say disclosure and I say self-disclosure, it truly is that. It is, are you able to look at your life, and are you able to truly bear the weight of understanding how these programs have controlled you and how they have controlled your life? And it's incredibly, my energy field is so balanced that my emotions almost don't... I know that if this had been a month ago and this was shown to me, I would have fallen apart. It would have been incredibly sad and disgusting, and I would have been experiencing so much more anger. But all along the way, I've been tuning to all of these things. So my understanding is much, much greater, much more expanded, because, as I said, even through my sessions, I've been shown how it's not the humans, it's the energy behind the humans, the energy that is coming through the humans that is doing the manipulation, and that is constantly plugging people back into the system when they think they are unplugging them. And it's even more detrimental to, I feel, be awake at this point and be trying to sort through the chaos, because you're exposed to so much more of the false energies. So it's not easy. And this isn't to scare anyone, but I do think there are other people who are really struggling with feeling like none of this makes sense and feeling like they're really not going anywhere. And so to say that we're experiencing all of this horribleness, right? The uncomfortableness in the body and feelings of being attacked, and actually probably being attacked, right? Because it's just what is. I think is doing a great disservice to people. I've had many unpleasant energies in my energy field, right? I can't even count anymore the number of different types of possession energies or AI energies or, whatever you want to label them as. And it's not that they're expressed through the human even, but you hold that. And so because you hold it, you experience that from others, or you experience these feelings within yourself that are just not right and super uncomfortable. So again, to just kind of brush that under the rug and to say that's just a part of being a light worker, yes. And the other piece that is missing is that you need to do something about that. And it goes beyond, just trying to beat it out. It goes beyond just trying to survive through it and just wait for it to pass. Because yes, it may pass, but it's going to come back again. So, what you do through energy work, energetic field work, is you call up that energy and you seal it out so that you don't experience that again. Are you going to experience another type of that similar energy? Possibly, yes, but not that same energy. So I know that's one of the things that people get frustrated with. Why do I have to work so hard? Why does this keep coming up over and over? It's because we're multidimensional, multi-layered beings. So it's not, let's go in and clear this all out and then we're fine. We have to do it over and over and over again. The good news is that it continues to get easier as we bridge these energies. But you have to be in the right field for it to be easier. And it could, in fact, get harder depending on who you're connecting to and what you're connected to, because these energies create hives, that hive mentality. And the way I experience the recycling, it's the reincarnation, the recycling systems. It's like a tractor beam of energy. And even if it feels uncomfortable to you, once you get stuck in it, you're in it, and it's very confusing because something happens at that point, actually, if you don't recognize it before you get into that energy, it is a form of mind control. It overtakes you, and you have a very hard time getting out because it's like being in a fog and you can't see clearly. And so I've gone through this multiple times where I would connect with groups or connect with people, and part of it is that you feel bad because you feel like you're judging these people, right? When really it's the energy that's coming through. And so it's really hard to walk away from things a lot of times because we feel that it's personal. And, that's one of the things that keeps us stuck a lot too, is just feeling like, but that's a really nice person and they're saying really nice things and a lot of it makes sense. And yet underneath, something feels really icky. And then I know I would start to get concerned, like, well, if I don't follow this person or this group, like, am I going to be missing out? Am I going to be left behind? So you have to really be careful about how these energies come through and how your experience comes through. And is it because something is resonating, or is it because something is off? That the energies can be twisted and everything starts to feel completely upside down. So, again, as I get to the end, it's like, wow, does that even make sense? My intention with making this video is to say that I've been waiting for a really, really long time. I know I've been working very hard for a really long time, but yet not seeing the physical proof, right? So it's very hard to say, hey, my life has really changed. What I can say is my life is really starting to change. My life is moving to a totally different place. A wave of energy did not come in and erase all my problems. I still have to clean up all the messes that were created. And there's a part of me that, yes, I take full responsibility, and yes, there was a lot of crap that was thrown on top of me that there was nothing that I could do about it at the time. There was really nothing I could do about it even a month ago. We arrive where we arrive when we arrive there. And if we are taking the proper steps and connecting to the proper energy, we will get there. But to kind of put that warning out there that there is a lot out there that is not what it says it is. There is a lot out there that is expressing that seems to be what it's saying it is, but it is not. So to be extremely, extremely cautious. And really the key is to look at how you are feeling and to not lie to yourself, because I lied to myself for a very long time. Again, this was part of the programming though. I would find something to lift me up for that day, to get me through that day, and that's what I would survive on. But that's not sustainable emotionally. That's not sustainable physically, and that's not sustainable energetically. So to really start to be truthful with yourself, are you truly feeling better, or are you just hoping harder? Because I think that's what I started to do as well. It's like, I'm going to really buckle down and really pray and really hope. Like, I really have a lot of hope and faith that things are going to get better for me. And at the same time, I'm going to keep trying and keep getting through my days and keep pedaling, right? But in reality, things were getting worse. So, that's a marker there too. So, okay. I do feel that as I'm still feeling this energy connecting in, I'm going to start to speak directly from the source energy. And I hate to even say that because it's like, well, everyone thinks they're speaking from source energy. It's one of those things. It is what it is. And I know that if people need to hear this, they will hear this. If they can't hear it, if it hurts their ears, there's a reason that they shouldn't be hearing this. And that goes for most things, right? That we are where we are at and we receive what we need. And, but to not cling to things that we don't need because of the distortion. I think that is very key. So, okay, again, I'm just going to stop there. I hope this made sense for someone. I hope you all are doing well through these energies. They are super intense. I'm not going to stop there. I was just reminded as I'm speaking about the super intense energies. Oh my gosh, I just got super excited. Because I think if you've made it this long through this video, yeah, right? If you've made it this long through this video, if you could withstand that energy, which was, this is where I connect in now, into the I am presence. And it's, it's a very strong energy. And it's really no nonsense. It's like, yes, we can descend all these different levels of templates of energy, right? And we can connect to Isis. We can connect to Mary Magdalene, and they have a different tone to them, right? They're all sourced out of source. But when you connect into source, like it's intense and it's serious. And at this point where we are in this process, it is like no nonsense. Like, the fall is coming, and we're trying to get people prepared. Of course, there's free will, so everyone is allowed to do what they will with it. Okay, so what I did want to speak on, though, is the intensity of the energies that have been coming through this last week. from the masculine. Oh my God, the divine masculine. And there's a part of me that is like, right, because there's this whole thing with the twin model, okay, this old model system that is going away. And so I completely disconnected from that like a month or two ago. I was like, it's not working. I'm going over here and working on myself, focusing on all these things that I need to do, which has been beautiful and been wonderful. And it's been so good to connect with my children in a way that I wasn't able to connect with them before. This energy of this false twin matrix is horrid. It is absolutely horrid. And I'm so glad I'm out of that. So there's a part of the human, right, that still connect, like twin, like what? I don't even like to use those words. I don't even like to use those labels because they were colored by this experience and the story of this false twin experience, right? So, but that doesn't mean that what we know as the twin, the counterpart energy dynamic does not exist. It does exist. So when this masculine energy was coming through, I was like, I don't want to look over there. Like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, what are you doing? Bugging, but there was this enormous amount of, and I knew what it was. I knew it was like, okay, I need to go in and I need to look like what needs to be done for the masculine, right? They were like tapping on the shoulder. Like, there's stuff here that needs to be done. We need to come in. We want to come home. We want this done. Not even we want this done, right? It needs to be done. With all the galactic energy that has been coming in, and these are just my intuitive like hits, right? That I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, my feeling has always been the galactics are, or the masculine energy is highly related to the galactics. And I didn't fully understand what or why that was or what's really happening. But it is, essentially reseeding essentially everything that's happening right now through the new fields is to reclaim, reseed. We're going back to the origins, all of the original templates, the original seed tones, the original of what was originally intended, right? Like I spoke in the past, we had to go through this other process in order to get to this point where we could bring back these origin energies. And that's what's happening. But with the masculine, it's happening in a very different way. And so some of the sessions I've been working through, and I think I posted on Patreon. I don't know if I did anything on YouTube in relation to the masculine energies. So they are essentially being rebirthed. And I've always felt this, that the masculine was going to be, or had to be birthed through the feminine energies, but I didn't know what that meant. But as we started to see it, I was like, oh my God, it's literally birthed through her field. And I felt it like rebuilding almost the, through the bone, it's like rebuilding a complete new template, right? So I was seeing it like through the spinal cord and into the bones and things like that. But it's like, what that represented was just a whole new structure for the masculine, which is incredible. Like, I could have never even pretended I thought that was going to happen. I knew it was going to come through differently. I had these senses that things were going to be different and that it was going to have to come through the feminine. But this is why the feminine field, why we have to be in alignment, why our energy field has to be so clear, is that you cannot birth this through your field until you have reached this point. And it has to be just so super clear. Not to say that these things aren't being built in the new fields, right? So we can bridge over into the new fields. So not everyone has to go through the process in the exact same way that I've had to go through it, right? That I can bridge over and we can assist people to come through it, through the gates. However, like, you still can't bring your crappy energies, right? Like, we're not allowed to bring the crap over to the new field. So that stuff still has to go, So, like, these things are it's available to everyone. It is who we are. And yet we still have to do the work to get there. But the exciting thing is, right, like for a while the masculine was kind of like gone. Twin flame was kind of like off the to-do list for a long time, right? It wasn't on the docket. And this last week it's been back in full force, and it's like, oh my God. So that's really exciting to see. I also worked on my daughter. I haven't worked on her in a really long time, and I worked on her for the first time this week, which is also super exciting because it's directly correlating to what she is currently experiencing, and as far as the changes that are occurring in her life too. I spoke earlier about all these things with my kids, how all these wonderful things are coming in for them. So it's like direct transference now of the etheric energy into form, which is incredible. But what she was bringing through, and I almost didn't believe it until I was working the next day with someone, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I saw my daughter bringing through. It was, the majority of it was related to the masculine energies. She was releasing out a lot of dark stuff. There was a galactic being that showed up right at her feet, and I was like, oh my God, this is her twin energy. And I was telling her, there's this, I see this being at your feet, and I was describing his color, and then I said, he kind of reminds me of this character, and I said, he even has this thing on his head, and she's like, oh my God, when you were telling me there was a being at my feet, she said, I saw the thing on his head, right? So and prior to this, she's like, Mom, energy, man, I don't want to hear this, I don't want to hear, right? But this is, and she, to me, has always also represented a lot of masculine energy. I run a lot of masculine energy. I'm very connected to the masculine fields. She has always felt that way to me as well. And I see her now as a marker for the masculine. I see how quickly she has, it's almost flipped her perspective with a little bit of outside involvement. She has a complete new perspective on life. She has a complete new connection to me through our energy fields. We were working together in tandem. And this has only been since last Thursday, so a little bit over a week. Everything has completely shifted. So it's really, really super exciting. Don't ask me when the masculine is coming. I don't know that, right? But I know that these changes are incredible. This is nothing I could have even pretended to predict, So that is super exciting to see. And I'm really excited to see what continues to come in. We're just energetically moving energy by leaps and bounds. The activations are coming in it's just massive amounts of energy that we're able to move through and reorder and activate. Whereas this used to take months, years. I mean, it was so much slower, so we are at a rapid pace. It is rapid expansion. But also likewise, don't forget, rapid expansion, rapid light coming in means rapid purging, which could be extremely difficult, for holding on so tightly, and if we don't understand. So just to be gentle on yourselves. I need to be gentle on myself too. We need to be gentle on ourselves as we move through this. But again, if you do feel like you are stuck, that things have not changed for you, that you are in chaos, that you are still experiencing a lot of darkness and attacks and all these things, you need to consider that you might have to start working on your energy field in a different way. And just also, again, a word of caution about what is out there. Unfortunately, the covenant dictates that we are here to show the way. We are not here to coerce. We are not here to... It's not our job to delineate between what is right and what is wrong. And so I could see many a video that I could put out that could say certain things, but that I just can't. That's not who I am. And that's just because that's where my orders source from. And I don't mean orders as in I'm being dictated. But in a sense it is, right? Like, this is the energy. These are the templates that I run from. It's not my job to point things out about what is out there. And again, this is why I speak from my experience, because this is what I have experienced. And the reason that I have experienced it to this degree, these words, they're like coming out so fast, I almost have to, it's like my lips are stumbling over them. It's like the energy wants to leave, but it's like first I have to form the shape in my mouth. Like, it's the weirdest thing that I've been feeling. It's like the energy is just coming through. Anyway, I've had to experience it so that I can speak about it, so that I can understand it, right? So that I can say, okay, I did go through that, and now I'm going through this, right? And that's really the only real proof that we really have about any of this at this point. Because I think about it sometimes, like if I were to walk up to a person on a street, what proof do I really have about any of this? And I'm in the very early stages of my life finally turning around, and I can see where I had so many false starts, and I had convinced myself that my life was different, and I convinced myself, but I feel it in my core now. I feel it in a very different way, that finally feels like, yes, this is source. This is I remember this energy. I know what this energy is. This is home. This is where I came from. And this is what I want everything in my life to match. It needs to match this energy. And so if it doesn't match this energy, I know, I have to work on something, or that's something I say no to, or I need to, go back and look at things. It's not to accept anything less than who we are, which is true source, true I am. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Take good care.